my real mother? Like, really? Are you our mother? Those are the words that my mom remembers me saying when I was a little girl. And I'm not sure whether it broke her heart or she just thought it was funny. When my father passed away almost 13 years ago, I was heartbroken, grieved, the loss of the love of my life. He really was. Still is in many ways. And I remember wondering, what am I going to do with my mom? We had not had a good relationship. When I was facing south, she seemed to be facing east. And I wondered, what is it going to take for us to be on the same page? As time went on, I just thought, I don't want my mom to pass away when we have a fractured relationship. I really wanted to heal it. And regardless of what I tried, she just didn't seem to get it. So this is what I did after a series of heartbreaking events that made me feel even further alienated from my mom and from the rest of my family. I'm the firstborn. I decided, okay, so I'm going to buy an air ticket to Kenya, and I'm not going to tell you that I'm coming. I'm just going to show up, and we'll take things from there. Now, Kenya is not Wisconsin, or, I don't know why I chose Wisconsin. It's a long flight. If you're lucky, 27 hours is kind of like a short flight. So I saw my daughter to secrecy. She was not to tell anybody that we were traveling to Kenya. We called my brother from Amsterdam and told him, we're about 8 hours away. The flight from Amsterdam to Nairobi is about 8 hours. And my brother thought we were pranking him, because my mom had just arrived in Nairobi on Tuesday, and this was Thursday, and nobody knew. So I was filled with fear, anxiety, trepidation, hope. Maybe this will sort things out. And we landed in Nairobi at 6:30 in the morning, just in time to watch the sun rising. And I thought, I think it's a new beginning. I hoped. So we go home, and the first thing my mom does is scold me. How dare you? How dare you come here without telling me that you're coming? And I asked her, Mom, isn't this my home? She thought, okay, yeah, you're right. You don't have to say that you're going home. And I think she sensed that this wasn't just a visit, that I wasn't just being nice, that I hadn't missed her in 2 days. And I did not have to unpack. And it was a lot of vitriol, and it was a lot of hurt. Going back to the little girl who asked, are you my real mother? For real. I didn't have to unpack that for her. But this is what she did. She unpacked herself to me. And I saw a side of my mother that I had never seen. And as she did that, I began to realize, wait a minute. She looks at life from a completely different lens, a lens that I didn't think that she does. Now, we come from the same culture. She raised me. She knows me better, probably, than anybody else. I mean, I was in her uterus. Thank God for my dad's placenta's contribution. So as my mom unpacked herself, and I stepped back in humility to receive without making judgment, without assuming that I knew, I saw glimpses of my mom that I had never seen. I saw a young woman who had been designated. My grandmother only had 4 daughters. And in the culture then, if you didn't have sons, then you didn't have a voice. So my grandmother designated my mother to be the son. So my mother had given up the dream of getting married, having kids, all that, so that she could be there for my grandmother. Then, obviously, we all know that life doesn't come with a script. My grandmother died suddenly. And all of a sudden, my mom didn't really have something to do, I guess. But she became pregnant with me, got married to my dad, and moved in with my dad's family. And they were very, very different. My mom came from a polygamous family. Her father had 3 wives at the same time, unlike serial monogamy here in the US. Anyway, that's a story for another day. And so she goes down this path of motherhood without really grieving the loss of her mother, without really grappling with this dream that she had given up and is now embracing, but a time when she wasn't ready. The song that you just heard playing when I came here is a celebration of the sacrifices that very many Kenyan women made in the struggle for independence. My mother was a part of that. She witnessed that. There was a trauma that came along with that. And I remember thinking, oh, baby. And you never told anybody about this, because she's never talked about it. Now, this didn't happen overnight. In fact, the way I had planned the trip, we would be in Nairobi with my mom for 1 week. And in case she rejected us, Deborah and I, we had a 2-week safari sandwiched in there, where we traveled around Kenya for 13 days with some other senior citizens from here in Idaho, and it was fantastic. And then I went back, and I think that 2-week apart had built that hunger within her as well for us to connect in a way that was healthier than we'd ever done. And she continued unpacking. I don't think she realized what she was doing, but she allowed me to see life through her lens. And I realized that in as much as my mother comes from the same place that I do, or rather I come from the same place that my mother does, because I grew up in Nairobi, I grew up with a very different lens. I grew up with a lens that was more contemporary, more liberal. And even though my mother went to school, was living in the city, her lens to life was a more traditional one. And she would joke, oh, I can hardly wait for when you guys will get married. And then you'll bring dowry to the home. Thinking, what are you talking about, bringing dowry? We are going to go to college and we are going to change the world. But for her, that was the focus, the traditional focus. If I said something, she'd reject it. If I sold the idea to my brother and he said it, she would buy it because it's come from the boy. And in the beginning, or in the past, I had rejected that. I really did not enjoy that. And I thought, what's the difference between my brother and I? Aren't you the ones who told us that there is no difference between boys and girls and that you value them equally? But in reality, that was not my mother's lens. And in as much as she joked about us getting married and bringing dowry, the fact that we were supposed to get married and go away. And in our cultures, when you get married, you belong to the other family. You belong to your husband's family. You're not really a part of this family anymore. And when I got that, I was like, oh gosh, how much time had I wasted assuming that my mom looked at life through my own lens and completely missing where she was coming from. Now that I know that, it is so easy for me to position things in a way that she views, in a way that she gets, without me getting offended anymore. At the end of that last week, my mom was asking me, could you extend your stay? Can you stay? And I really wished that I could have, because the healing that had happened over that month was just amazing. Towards the end, remember I said that she had been here and she had left on a Tuesday and she landed in Kenya on Tuesday and we landed on Thursday. While she was here, there was a dress of mine that she really liked. It was black with very boldly colored flowers. And she kept telling me, I love that dress. Get me a dress like that. And would you believe it? I couldn't find another dress like that. And every time I wore it, she was like, that dress would look really good on me. And I tell her, Mom, you're shorter than I am. It's going to, I would always find. So when I went to Kenya, I went with my dress, and I thought I looked fabulous. And even in Kenya, my mother kept saying, I told you, that dress would look so much better on me. So as we were leaving, as we were getting ready to leave, I washed the dress, and I folded it up, and I took it to my mom. And I told her, Mom, you're right. This dress would look so much better on you. And I felt like as I gave up this dress that I so much loved, it was a symbol of the healing that had happened. It was a symbol of me giving up my lens and insisting on viewing life through just my lens and saying, you're right, you look amazing in this dress. Do you know what she did? A few days later, after we landed here in the US, she sent me pictures of her in the dress. It was a sleeveless dress, and she doesn't like showing her upper arms. Neither do I. I don't know why she doesn't. For me, it was because I once heard a guy say that he likes seeing the upper part of the arms of women because he thinks this is the thigh of the arm. And I thought, what? You'll never see the thigh of my arms. Anyway. So my mother had these little jackets made matching the different flowers on the dress. She had like a peach-colored one and another one that was like a lime green. And so she'd send them and she'd tell me, do you see how pretty I look? See how beautiful this dress is? And you know what the funny thing is? When I came back to the US, I looked for that dress. I loved that dress, and I couldn't find it. And this is what I realized. That dress, that gift that we shared, it really was just that. Something that we were able to share and do this push and pull. And to this day, when she wears that dress, she'll get somebody to take a picture and send it to me. In the past, that would have felt like she's rubbing my face in it. Now I'm so honored and so thrilled and so happy that we get to share this dress that I think is mine and she knows is hers. And I tell this story because I know that I am like that sometimes, where I'm wondering, why aren't you seeing things my way? Why isn't this so obvious to you? Can't you see exactly what's going on? And yet, if I stepped back, if I borrowed your glasses, if I borrowed your lens, I just might be able to see things in a very different way, in a way that will create understanding, in a way that will bring us together, rather than just thinking, you just need to see it the way I see it. And this is also what I did. I lent her my glasses. I still lend her my glasses when she's telling me she doesn't think I'm being strict enough with my daughter or mean enough with her. And I'm like, Mom, look at her through this lens. Look at her through the lens that she's viewing life through. Strictness is not going to do it. Maybe a little TLC. Maybe snowboarding, not going to happen. So I invite you today to take the time to view life through the lens of the other person. And in that way, get to appreciate their point of view. Back to you.